You wake up. The day has barely begun, and yet your heart is already out of rhythm, not in tune with the calm of the morning, but in sync with an anxiety that barges in without warning. Thoughts race like frantic messengers, as if they're late for a meeting no one ever scheduled. And before your feet even touch the ground, you're already submerged in an invisible ocean of worries, endless mental checklists and silent screams echoing from within. But what if I told you there's something, a single phrase that can completely shift the course of your day? A phrase so simple, so quiet, it feels almost symbolic, yet it holds the power to realign you with life itself. It's not magic. It's not some cheap self-help gimmick. It's a key, a forgotten key, buried deep inside you. Carl Jung saw this with stunning clarity. He said the way you wake up in the morning reveals exactly how you're living and what you continue to attract into your reality. For Jung, every awakening is a rebirth, a threshold between two worlds, the ethereal world of dreams and the tangible world of matter. And it's in this fleeting moment of transition, this fragile yet potent instant, that you have the chance to program your soul. The first phrase of your day, what you choose to think, feel, or say, has a profound impact on the quality of your being and the vibration you carry into the hours ahead. Most people wake up on autopilot. They open their eyes, turn off the alarm, check their messages, glance at the day's schedule, and without realizing it, they're already reacting to the world before they've even reconnected with who they really are. But this moment, this waking moment, is sacred, and wasting it is like ignoring a portal. There is immense power in pausing for just 1 second, taking a breath and speaking to the invisible. This isn't about religion, it's about intention, it's about awareness, it's about deep identity. It's about starting the day not in relationship with the external, but with your own unconscious. Jung believed the unconscious communicates through symbols, archetypes, and synchronicities. And the first thing you say when you wake up? That's your first symbol of the day. It's the torch that lights the path you're about to walk. The phrase we're about to explore, one that you can adapt to your own truth, can be whispered aloud or spoken in the most private silence. What matters most is that it's felt, that it comes from deep within, that it rises like a whisper from the soul, like a quiet declaration to life itself. I'm ready to receive what I don't yet understand, but that is already making its way to me. And what happens when you start your day this way? The unexpected begins to notice you. Coincidence reorganizes itself around your presence. The pieces that seemed stuck begin to shift. You stop being just a body reacting to the push of the world and become a magnetic field attracting meaningful experiences. You develop your own gravity. You begin to move, in tune with life instead of in resistance to it. You stop fighting against, you stop resisting the current, and you begin to row with the flow of the invisible. And if that sounds too mystical for you, maybe it is. But Carl Jung reminded us, with clarity and wisdom, that it is in the invisible where the visible begins to be woven. Matter is born from symbol. Destiny is born from the unconscious. Everything you manifest begins with how you choose to stand before life. And that choice begins the moment you wake up. So before we go any deeper into this transformative phrase and why it works on such a profound level, I want to invite you to try something. A small experiment, one that might change everything. Tomorrow morning, as soon as you open your eyes, before checking your phone, before your mind starts listing problems, before you dress your body, dress your soul, take a deep breath and say this with your full heart: I accept the hidden beauty in what I don't yet understand. This phrase, though simple, is a code, a password, an access key to something you may not yet know you've needed. It's an invitation you extend to the unseen, to begin revealing itself gently in the scene. And when you do that, life listens. But make no mistake, this phrase isn't about magical thinking. It carries a powerful inner symbol: openness, not control. You're not demanding, begging, or trying to manipulate what's to come. You're simply offering your presence, your trust before the unknown. And, according to Carl Jung, this is one of the highest forms of consciousness. Why? Because it's humble. It acknowledges that there is something greater than us at play. And still, it invites us to participate in the unfolding. Throughout this video, we're going to explore this quiet gesture, this morning ritual, not as superstition, not as another trick of self-help, but as a reconnection to the soul's silent language. We'll explore what Jung saw in these sacred morning moments, and how this simple practice can echo into every corner of your life, your relationships, your decisions, your creativity, even your emotional healing. And if this message is already stirring something inside you, leave a symbolic seed in the comments below. Today, I choose to start differently. Let's see how many people silently are ready to turn this invisible key at the same time. Now take a breath and ask yourself something. How do you start your days? It sounds like a small question, but it's far deeper than it appears, because the way you begin your morning doesn't just shape your mood, it sets the tone for your perception. It decides what you'll notice, what you'll ignore, and most importantly, what you'll attract. And no, this isn't New Age fantasy. It's psychological, it's archetypal, it's spiritual philosophy rooted in the human experience. Carl Jung once warned us, "The psychic state upon waking is the frame around your day, and whatever happens next will be interpreted through that frame. If the frame is dark, everything seems heavier. If the frame is light, even shadows become meaningful." Now pause with me, and imagine if the first thing you say in the morning is, "Ooh, I'm late again. Another heavy day. I can't do this anymore." What kind of reality are you stepping into? Those phrases we often mutter in the morning. "Ugh, it's going to be a tough day. I'm already late again. I can't do this anymore." They are rituals too, but rituals charged with negative energy. They're unconscious commands, energetic seals that, once spoken, quietly begin shaping your reality. And the worst part, they disguise themselves as routine, as harmless normalcy. But in truth, they are symbolic viruses, emotional programs that place grey lenses over your eyes, making you see not what is real, but what your unconscious has been instructed to filter. Carl Jung explained, "The unconscious isn't just a vault for repressed memories, it's a co-author of your reality. It works through symbols, archetypes, internal imagery, and most of all, repetition. What you repeat becomes a pattern, and the words you speak when you wake up, they are the first code of your day, the first signal your psychic system receives to begin shaping your reality. So if you say, 'Today is going to be hard,' your unconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't debate. It listens. It obeys. It begins filtering your perception in a way that confirms that belief. And just like that, you become a prisoner of your own mental frame. That's why the intention behind this video isn't magical thinking. It's symbolic revolution. It's an invitation for you to build a sacred, silent ritual, a morning practice that carries the power of your deepest intention. But hear this clearly, this isn't some trick to attract instant miracles. It's much deeper than that. It's a repositioning of your center. It's about stepping out of reactive mode, where you live from the outside in, and stepping into presence, where you live from the inside out. The phrase you choose when you wake up, it's like an energetic seal. It sets the tone. It tunes your internal instrument to the symphony of the day ahead. It could be something like, "Everything that comes today will meet me in peace. I'm open to seeing beauty in the unexpected. My heart knows the way. I trust the invisible that guides me. These are not cliches. They're not wishful affirmations. They are conscious invocations, subtle keys that realign your inner frequency with what is most true and sacred within you. And here's the beauty. You choose your phrase, your key, your intention. By the end of this video, we'll present a few deeply meaningful options, and maybe one of them will forever change the way you start your days. But for now, if this message touched something inside you, leave your symbol in the comments below. Today, I choose to start differently. Because as Jung taught us, the unconscious responds to symbols. And today, you just created one. Now take a moment and notice none of the phrases we've suggested so far require force. They don't try to convince life, manipulate outcomes, or challenge destiny. They invite. And to Jung, that distinction is essential. The unconscious, that vast psychic ocean that shapes thoughts, feelings, and synchronicities, does not obey commands shouted in desperation. It listens to whispers. It responds not to control, but to permission. And that's why, when you repeat a phrase with genuine presence day after day, it becomes something more than words. It becomes a living symbol. What you're saying each morning, it's not just a phrase, it's a living intention. And according to Carl Jung, symbols are bridges. They connect what you already know within yourself to what has yet to be born. They're portals between who you are and who you are still becoming. So when you speak your chosen phrase each morning, you're not merely reciting words, you're activating a psychic movement. You're whispering to your soul, yes, I am here, I am awake, I am participating. And people who've embraced this subtle ritual, this silent act at the moment of waking, often report something remarkable, subtle changes that shift everything. They begin to notice coincidences that once slipped by. They feel more centered amid challenges. They gain clarity about what truly matters. But no, it's not the world that changes. It's the gaze. And the gaze changes everything. Now, before we dive into the next concept, what Jung referred to as rituals of transition, I want to ask you something. What phrase will you choose to speak every morning? Write it in the comments, not as a cry for help, but as a silent commitment to yourself, a micro-act of inner revolution. Carl Jung observed that throughout a single day, we pass through many invisible rituals, tiny moments of transition, each one carrying deep symbolic power. Waking up is one of them, and perhaps one of the most powerful. Waking is the end of a nightly journey through the unconscious. It's crossing from shadow into light, from the internal into the external, from dream into action. But here's the problem. Most people today wake up like they're jumping off an emotional cliff, straight onto a treadmill. Within seconds, they're answering messages, panicking about time, rushing into their day like it's already on fire. The body wakes up, but the spirit stays asleep. There's no pause, no bridge, no ritual, only reactivity. And without ritual, the soul feels lost, disoriented, unanchored. That's why this tiny gesture, to pause, breathe, and speak a symbolic phrase, is far more than poetry. It is deep psychology. It's a recalibration of the axis of your awareness, a reunion with your soul. Jung understood that silent rituals help structure the psyche. They're like invisible tracks, guiding the emotional train of your day. They remind you, you are not just a body in motion, you are a soul in process. You're always in transition, always mid-crossing, and it's no coincidence that monks begin their days with silence, with reverence, with breath. They don't leap from bed into email inboxes. They don't treat the morning as an emergency. They understand the way you wake is the way you live. But no, You don't need to live in a monastery. You don't need incense or Tibetan mantras. You just need 10 seconds of presence before getting out of bed. And a phrase. Your phrase. It might be, I align myself with the wisdom of the unseen. My presence brings meaning. Today, I wake in communion with the sacred within me. I choose not to fight, but to flow. May I hear what the day wants to teach me. Even if I don't understand, I trust. Whichever phrase speaks to you, start with it, begin with it, not just in your mouth, but in your chest, in your breath, in the stillness before the day begins. Because that phrase is more than words. It's your bridge from the unconscious to the life you are meant to live. Simple phrases like these, when repeated with presence and awareness, become inner anchors. And anchors, contrary to what many believe, aren't there to stop the storm from happening. They're not magical shields that block life's winds. Anchors exist to keep you from drifting in the storm, so that even in chaos, you remain centered, grounded, and conscious. Carl Jung taught us that symbols serve a fundamental purpose. They act like seeds planted in the soil of the psyche. These seeds don't sprout instantly. They're not some instant magic. Instead, they prepare the inner landscape, creating the right conditions for the growth of what's still hidden within us. The ritualistic repetition of conscious phrases is like the water a patient gardener offers to the seed, allowing it to take root deeply. And then, slowly, something begins to bloom. A new attitude, a fresh perception, a renewed energy that not only emerges inside you, but starts to overflow outward. But there's something even deeper in this small morning ritual. When you begin your day with a conscious gesture like this, you're activating the archetype of the gatekeeper, the inner guardian of your threshold. And no, this gatekeeper is not some mythical figure from folklore. It lives within each of us. It's that internal voice that decides how you step into each moment of your life. It won't let you pass through life unconsciously, without presence or clarity. It protects your energy. It chooses what enters your field, what should remain, and what must be released. When you wake up, you're standing at a threshold, right between the world of dreams and the world of reality. And at that gate, you face a choice. Either cross in a rush, in confusion, in reactivity, or cross with clarity, with intention, and with presence. And believe me, a single phrase spoken with full awareness can be the key to that crossing. In the next block, we're going to go even deeper into how these small rituals connect with the great archetypes of the soul, the hero, the healer, and the sage. You'll learn how to awaken them right at the start of your day, and allow them to guide your path. But first, I want to hear from you. Do you usually wake up calmly and peacefully, or do you jump straight into the chaos of stress and anxiety? Share your answer in the comments. Your experience might inspire someone else to rethink their own awakening and maybe, just maybe, choose a different path. Jung left us a map, not of a physical place, but of an inner universe where powerful symbolic figures live. Among them are the archetypes of the hero, the healer, and the sage. Each morning, they rise with you. The only difference is whether you invite them into your day or leave them behind in sleep. When you wake up and say a phrase with intention, you're invoking one of those archetypes. Imagine saying, "Today I act with courage even if I feel afraid." Right then, you're calling on the hero. But this hero isn't some warrior who fights external enemies. He's the one who dares to face his own inner challenges. The one who breaks old cycles, not with force, but with presence. Procrastination and self-sabotage have no place here. This is the voice of the one who chooses to act today, right now, instead of waiting for the perfect moment. If your phrase is, "Today, I take care of what matters most," including myself, you're awakening the archetype of the healer. The healer symbolizes Your ability to regenerate, to set boundaries without guilt, to act with kindness toward both yourself and others. It's the archetype that transforms your relationship with the world, making it more compassionate and balanced. And if your phrase is, "Today I listen before judging, I observe before reacting," you're invoking the archetype of the sage, the one who chooses wisdom, reflection, and patience. The sage doesn't rush to the next task. He observes, understands, and connects to a deeper perception. These archetypes are not some distant myth or mystical cave dwellers. They live inside you, quietly pulsing, waiting for your call every morning. And the way you start your day can be the key to awakening them, integrating them, and manifesting them in your life. Whatever phrase you choose becomes your doorway to this awakening. Today, I listen before judging, I observe before reacting. Guess who starts guiding your journey? The archetype of the sage. This is the archetype of broader vision, of silence before response, of deep listening before a rushed conclusion. It's what prevents you from becoming just another cog spinning in the frenetic noise of the world, lost in the confusion of fleeting thoughts and emotions. Carl Jung saw archetypes not as mere cultural inventions or psychological fantasies, but as real structures of the human soul, fundamental patterns shaping our experience and behavior. The more you call them, invite them into your daily life, the more these archetypes come alive, manifest, and operate within you, guiding how you are and how you act. And the moment of waking up? Jung compared that morning transition to a symbolic theater curtain rising. You get to choose who steps onto the stage first in the play of your daily life. You can invite fear, haste, and anxiety, chaos, and loss of control. Or you can invite the silent hero, the gentle healer, and the attentive sage, leading your day with courage, kindness, and wisdom. The phrase, "You choose upon waking," is more than words. It's your invitation to these inner characters. It sets the tone and atmosphere for the unfolding play of your day. And the most beautiful part? This choice is yours. Every day. Even when life feels repetitive, when days blur into a monotonous sequence, you have the power to begin differently. Some days, your phrase needs to be firm, almost like a shield. Today, I respect myself, even if the world doesn't understand. Other days, softer, the tone more welcoming. I don't have to have all the answers right now. And sometimes it's simply a quiet gratitude. Thank you for this new beginning. The central point is conscious choice. Don't wake up on autopilot. Don't hand over control of your day to the noise and pressure outside before you even hear yourself, your own soul. Jung said, "What you ignore within yourself eventually becomes your destiny." If all of this feels new to you, start with a phrase, a sigh, a careful look inside yourself, because when the soul feels remembered, when it receives attention, it begins to respond. And the unexpected, that which cannot be predicted, begins to find its way. If this message touched you, leave a comment. Today, I chose the tone of my day, and share this video with someone who needs to remember that there is still time to start with lightness and intention. There's something almost magical that happens when you begin to listen to yourself before the world does. Something shifts in your internal rhythm, in the frequency of your being. It's as if you stop desperately chasing after life and start walking with it, in harmony. You understand that true transformation doesn't come from big turning points or dramatic events, but from small gestures charged with intention. The way you wake up, this inaugural gesture, is the starting point for everything you will experience. But why does it really work? What's the hidden mechanism behind this seemingly simple change? The unconscious doesn't operate by rational logic. It responds to symbols, images, and repetitions. A phrase said daily upon waking stops being just a phrase. It becomes a mantra, an energetic code that reorganizes the structure of your psyche. It's like telling your soul, we're in this together. And the unconscious then answers in its own language with synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, small signs, miracles disguised as chance. Have you noticed how some people seem lucky, as if life flows more easily for them? Most of the time, that luck is simply a reflection of a mind tuned into its own psychic energy, that has established conscious rituals and invited the right archetypes to guide their day. And the question for you is, which archetype are you inviting when you wake up? What will be the tone of the play you will perform today? It's not luck, it's alignment. People who seem lucky or who flow with life, consciously or unconsciously, have learned to create small rituals that reorder their energy before even getting out of bed. They don't start their day by putting out fires, but by lighting an inner flame, a light that illuminates their path and directs their energy where it should go. And that flame, subtle as it may seem, changes everything. Now I invite you to do a simple exercise. Breathe with me. Close your eyes for a moment, or just imagine. You wake up, the world is still silent, everything calm. You feel the air gently entering your lungs, and before moving, whisper to yourself, today, presence, not haste. Even without knowing what's coming, I move forward. I'm here, and this is already a sacred beginning. You just created a space, a small altar within yourself, a place where the world hasn't shouted yet, where you haven't gotten lost in other people's expectations, where you're still in control of your energy. External demands, incessant pressures, this space is your origin, your starting point, your root. Jung said that the farther we travel in the external world, the more we need to cultivate deep, firm internal roots. The phrase you say in the morning is the seed of that root. It anchors you, centers you, reminds you of what truly matters, even when everything around you seems to pull you away, into chaos, haste, despair. Now, importantly, this doesn't mean the day will be light, calm, or perfect. It means that whatever happens, you started from within yourself. And this simple shift completely changes the kind of energy you bring to situations throughout the day. You stop being just a reaction. You become the choice. Now, I want to invite you to reflect. What was the first thing you thought today when you woke up? Was it fear, exhaustion, hurry? Or was it presence, welcome, hope? Write in the comments how your awakening was today, and if you want, pick a new phrase for tomorrow. Who knows, it might become your new sacred ritual. In the next part, we'll explore how science also confirms the impact of these practices and how the brain interprets these morning commands concretely, shaping your mood, creativity, and resilience throughout the day. Now, I'm going to share something that might surprise you. Science is beginning to understand what Jung intuited decades ago. Recent neuroscience studies reveal that the brain upon waking enters a state called reverse hypnagogia, a delicate, fluid transition between sleep and wakefulness. At this moment, brain waves slow down, becoming more receptive, like fertile soil ready to receive seeds, and what you plant in that inner soil, whether a phrase, a mental image, or an intention, has a great chance to bloom throughout your day. This means your first words, your first thought, your first emotion of the day carry disproportionate weight. It's like the first step on an unknown trail. It not only determines the destination, but sets the entire rhythm of the journey. The emotional path of your day begins with the first step you choose to take. Upon waking, and the most beautiful part is that you get to choose this step. Recent brain imaging research shows something fascinating. Positive affirmations said right after waking activate brain areas linked to planning, empathy, and emotional regulation. On the other hand, phrases filled with fear, pressure, or anxiety activate the alert system, the one that makes you more reactive, anxious, and drained quickly. In other words, the phrase you say upon waking is not only symbolic, it is neurological. Carl Jung, who saw mind and body as an integrated whole, would surely say this confirms something deeper. The unconscious and the body are not separate. They dance together. The language you offer your awakening is like a melody, and your whole system begins to dance to its rhythm. Your body begins to move with this rhythm. But pay attention, we're not talking about magical phrases that create instant miracles. We're talking about symbolic phrases. And the symbol, as Jung said, is the language of the soul. When you say upon waking, "I accept whatever comes with ease," your brain doesn't interpret this as empty words. It recognizes it as permission, a release of inner resistance. And when you offer this permission, your body relaxes. The day begins with more inner space, and where there is space, the unexpected can enter. So what I'm proposing here is not that you memorize a phrase like a robot, but that you find the phrase that truly resonates with your soul, that you repeat it not out of obligation, but out of reverence, like opening a window to let the light in. Let's take a look at some suggestions you can adapt for your morning ritual. Today, I make room for what is real. May my presence be stronger than my fear. Even without understanding, I walk with confidence. Choose the one that touches you most, or invent your own. The important thing is that it's sincere. It doesn't have to be overly optimistic or fanciful. It needs to be honest, because the unconscious recognizes truth and only responds to what is truly felt. In the next part, we'll explore how this practice can expand beyond the moment of waking, influencing other important transitions throughout your day. The start of work, quiet pauses, even how you close your day at night. Every beginning and every ending carries a powerful symbolic force, and recognizing this can transform your relationship with time and with yourself. Maybe you're already feeling the impact of this simple, often forgotten gesture, a phrase, a moment, a pause, before diving into the chaos of the day. But the truth is, this silent ritual doesn't need to be limited to waking hours. It can and should accompany you throughout the day, in the small restarts that often go unnoticed. Carl Jung drew attention to these psychological gateways we cross every day without noticing: the first coffee, the first glance, the first silence, the transition between tasks, closing your eyes before sleep. All of these moments are portals, precious opportunities to reconnect with your center, with yourself, this internal wholeness that Jung also described. When you start bringing this symbolic gesture, the conscious pause, and the phrase with intention to other parts of your day, something truly powerful happens. Your life stops being an automatic sequence of reactions and begins to have its own rhythm, an inner pulse. You stop living as an echo of the world around you and start creating your own music with your own chords and melodies. Let me give you some practical examples. Before opening your work door or your browser tab if you're at home, you can silently repeat, "I will not lose myself in urgency, but will remember what truly matters." Before a difficult conversation, say to yourself, "Listen beyond the words." Before a meal, say, "May this food nourish me beyond my body." Before sleep, say, "I release what I cannot control. May the unseen take care of the rest." When spoken with presence and intention, these phrases become miniature sacred moments in your daily life. They create spaces of awareness amid the rush and constant pressure. They remind you that even in the chaos, you have a center, and you don't need to lose yourself in the outskirts of events. Jung said that the self, this psychic wholeness, reveals itself precisely in the gaps, the between the lines, the pauses in time and attention. But to perceive the self in these subtle spaces, you must be available. And this availability doesn't just fall from the sky, it's cultivated and trained. It's cultivated with small, repeated gestures done with intention, like these phrases you say throughout the day. Here's an interesting detail. When you start doing this, the people around you notice. Even if they can't exactly explain what changed, they feel that you're not reacting like before, that you breathe before responding, that you listen differently, that there's a new presence there. And this presence doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from the ritual you created with your own soul. Waking up and saying a phrase with intention is just the beginning of true awakening. True awakening is remembering throughout the day that you can start over as many times as needed. You don't need to wait for a big external change to transform your inner state. You just need to pause, breathe, and say something that brings you back to yourself, to your axis, to your center. If this video is reminding you of that, comment here. My day is made of new beginnings. In the next part, we'll explore how this practice can transform your relationships, especially those filled with tension, unspoken expectations, or difficult silences. Because when you change the way you start your day, you also change the way you connect with others. Have you noticed how many conflicts in relationships begin even before the first word is spoken? Sometimes the tension is in the air, in the gaze, in the way you wake up, already carrying an energy that contaminates the coffee, the touch, the presence. That's where the silent ritual gains a new layer of power, the power to transform connections, to dissolve invisible walls, and to open space for empathy, respect, and genuine affection. What you say upon waking not only reorganizes your mind, but also purifies your relational field. Carl Jung said that the way you find yourself upon awakening determines how you will find others throughout the day. Because those who wake up at war with themselves will inevitably enter battle with the world. But those who awaken in inner alliance become, almost without trying, an invitation to peace for everyone around them. And see, you don't need a self-help speech to transform your bonds. Sometimes, just changing the first phrase you carry in the morning completely changes the tone of your relationships. Have you noticed that waking up saying, "Today I don't want conflict," is very different from saying, "Today I will listen more and react less"? The first phrase is still fighting and resisting. The second one opens up to the other, creating space for listening and understanding. The phrase you choose for tomorrow becomes, over time, the energy you spread. Because when it's spoken with truth, it doesn't stay just in your mouth. It goes to your eyes, your touch, your silence. And the people around you notice, even if they can't exactly explain how or why. Jung reminded us that every relationship is a symbolic field, an invisible deep exchange of psychic contents. What you bring into your encounter with another begins long before you see their face. It starts with how you treat yourself upon waking. Think about it. If you wake up rushed, frustrated, or pressured, that's what you bring to the breakfast table, the workplace, the conversation with your family. And that's what the other person senses, even if it's disguised. But if you wake up with a phrase of presence, openness, and listening, it's as if your entire body is saying, "Today, I am really here." Want to see how this impacts things in practice? Imagine waking up and saying to yourself, "Today, I make space for others to be as they are." Or, "I don't need to win, I want to understand." Or even, "My peace is worth more than the last argument." Now, take that energy into that difficult conversation, into a silent exchange with someone who's been annoying you, or that relative who always tests you. Do you feel the difference? You stopped being just a reaction and became awareness, and you don't need to wait for the other person to change to transform the relationship. That is the greatest power you have. Your silent change shifts the entire field around you. Sometimes just starting your day differently is enough for the other person to feel that something is no longer the same. Jung said, "The true meeting with another only happens when you have already met yourself." And awakening, that brief and sacred moment, is your daily chance to make that reunion. If this video is helping you see your relationships with new eyes, comment below. Today I start differently, and that changes everything. In the next part, we'll explore how the ritual of your waking phrase can help you deepen this personal and relational transformation even further. This waking phrase ritual is also a support to get through tough moments, especially those days when everything feels heavy, confusing, or meaningless. Because, even on dark days, this gesture carries light. There are days when we wake up with the weight of the world on our chest, not always for a specific reason. Sometimes it's just accumulated fatigue, a nameless sadness, a void that seems too big to hold inside us. And it's on those days that the silent ritual of the waking phrase becomes more than a gesture. It becomes a hug. Carl Jung knew the human psyche is not a straight line. It's made of cycles, spirals, long nights, and slow dawns. Jung warned us about a very common danger, wanting to leave the darkness too quickly, pretending to be in the light when we're still crossing through the shadows. That's why, on those difficult days, the phrase you say upon waking doesn't have to be positive. It needs to be honest. You might wake up and say to yourself, "Today is hard, but I give myself permission to feel." Or, even without strength, "I move slowly." Or even, "I don't need to be okay to love myself." And when you say this, something subtle but profound begins to happen. You stop beating yourself up with demands and start to genuinely embrace yourself. And the psyche responds. The pain doesn't disappear, but it settles. It finds a place to breathe. Because what really makes us sick isn't feeling sadness, but distancing ourselves from who we are, trying to escape something that just needs to be heard. And the morning phrase on those days works like a powerful reminder. I am still here, and I am with myself. Jung said, every pain carries a symbolic message, and that the unconscious, instead of punishing us, tries to wake us up to something we stopped listening to. By repeating a phrase when you wake up, you open a channel, and maybe, in the silence, you'll hear what the pain is trying to say. You know, Sam, it's not about running out of the hole, it's about carrying a lantern with you, and sometimes that lantern is just that, a whispered phrase in the dark, a choice to keep going, a kindness to yourself. Don't try to wake up every day with strength, but at least try to wake up with presence. Say to yourself, today I just exist, and that is enough. And notice how, little by little, the unexpected starts to show up. An insight, a coincidence, a gesture from someone, not like magic, but as a response to your small act of courage. If you've ever had one of those dark days and still chose to start over, comment here. Even in the dark, I lit a light. Your phrase might be the breath someone needs. Right now, in the final part of this video, we'll bring all this together. The awakening, the symbol, the unconscious, the archetypes, and the practice, in a closing that leaves you with a question and a new way to inhabit your own beginning. So now, take a deep breath and remember everything we've gone through so far. Waking up isn't just about opening your eyes. It's opening a portal. It's there between dream and day that the soul is most vulnerable and most available. Carl Jung saw this moment as sacred, a moment where we can decide whether to keep repeating the same patterns or to start from a new place, more conscious, more whole. And the turning point can be minimal. One phrase, one choice, one silent intention. But behind this simplicity lies a revolution. When you wake up with presence, you change the vibration. And that vibration spreads to your body, your mind, your encounters, your world. You stop living on autopilot and start living with purpose, even in the small things. And it doesn't matter which phrase you choose. What matters is the space you create with it, the listening, the pause, the gentleness of treating yourself like someone worthy of a warm welcome early in the day. Because you deserve that. We all do. Maybe tomorrow when you wake up you'll still feel tired, still afraid, still uncertain. But if you have the courage to pause for a moment and say, I am here and I am alive, that alone is a beginning. Then something starts to change. Because you reconnect with yourself, and that reconnection is the start of everything. The great truth Jung taught us is that the soul responds when it's called. And the phrase you say when you wake up is exactly that, a call, a symbolic gesture that you still believe, still want to open up, still are willing to walk forward, even without understanding everything. And then the unexpected comes, not as a loud miracle, but as a subtle, serene, precise response. Now, it's up to you. In the comments, write the phrase you've chosen to start your days from now on, or share the one that touched you the most in this video. And if you want to help others rediscover their own beginnings, send this video to someone who's been waking up in the dark. For you who stayed until the end, I want to give you a symbolic gift, a deep invitation for a commitment with yourself. Comment below the phrase you will start saying every morning from now on, the phrase that transforms you, that builds a bridge between the you of yesterday and the you are building today, a you more conscious, more whole, more aligned with your truth. Let the simple act of writing that phrase be a sign to the universe, a reminder to your soul that you are ready. Ready to open up, to allow yourself to align with the invisible flow that guides your life. Ready to accept the hidden beauty in what you don't yet understand, to embrace the unexpected, to walk with courage even without all the answers. Every day is a new chance to start over, to reset your mind and your heart, and the way you begin your day sets the rhythm you carry through the hours to come. Remember, it's not just about opening your eyes, it's about opening a portal to self-knowledge, to presence, to inner power. When you start your day differently, the day starts differently with you. You become the force that attracts what's genuine, that connects with what truly matters. You stop being a reflection of external circumstances and become the creator of your experience. And it's precisely this silent, almost invisible transformation to the rushed eyes of the world that can change everything. Because it's in the intention with which you speak, think, and feel that the power to shape your reality resides. The phrase you choose to repeat every morning is not just a set of words, it's a code, a symbol, a sacred gesture that activates the inner forces Jung called archetypes, which guide and sustain us. But of course, this is not a promise of easy or perfect days. Life has its light and its shadow, its cycles of joy and challenge. And sometimes what strengthens us is not only the light we kindle, but the darkness we accept and walk through. So be kind to yourself, even when the phrase you say is as simple as, "Today, I simply exist," and that is enough. What matters is to start, to create that sacred space inside you where the world hasn't shouted yet, where the soul can still breathe. I invite you to commit to this daily ritual, this silent conversation with yourself, because true transformation happens in the repeated, the small, the continuous. Don't wait for big changes all at once. Change happens in the steady step taken every day. If you feel this message resonates with you, I invite you to join this community of people seeking to live with more presence, intention, and authenticity. Like this video, share it with those who need to hear this today, and subscribe to the channel to keep receiving content that will help you wake up every morning with more clarity and purpose. Together, let's transform our days, one awakening at a time. Until the next video, may your new day always begin with the strength of your best phrase. This is Unshakable Mind, your channel for inner strength and mindful living.